Great. Just one more minute here. Okay, we're all set. All right. Hi. Good morning, BSides. So today's topic for our keynote is going to be what happens to hackers that go pro. We are discussing the process by which technologists end up in management and the kind of pitfalls that you can expect if you're starting a company or end up in middle management somewhere dealing with a bunch of really creative people. There's some tricks and challenges to it. I know because I kind of came from the researcher community and found myself unwittingly in a management position, and then suddenly found myself running a company. And you know, the process by which I kind of picked up enough, barely enough business acumen to be able to do what I do was not obvious. I didn't go to business school or anything like that. So I'm going to use myself as a point of reference. This does not necessarily mean that everyone will have the same experiences as me here, but you might be able to avoid some things that I did wrong and maybe learn a few things that I thought were done particularly well. So yeah, my name is Rioux. Hello. I am going to be spouting a little bit here today. So just bear with me. I'm going to try to cover this in a personal but informal way. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I was born in West Virginia and raised in Maine. I can tell you there was absolutely nothing to do with system programming, and I was probably 5 years old when my father brought home my first computer. It was an Apple II Plus, 16K of memory, and a Z80 expansion card. It was in the window of his computer store that he was doing retail sales at. You see, he had a PhD in music, which means that there was absolutely no way he was getting a job ever. So he ended up accidentally selling computers for a living, because it turned out that he was pretty adept at programming, and that was actually part of his PhD thesis. And so early on, I kind of latched onto programming. I thought it was really neat. I thought video games were awesome, and he brought home the computer basically every day, and the next day I had to bring it back to the store and plug it in and whatnot. But every day he'd bring home boxes of games. We'd cut the plastic open, hold the disc out, play them for the evening, get to stick them back in the box, and put them on the shelf again. So if I wanted to keep the games, I had to learn how to crack them, and I think that's where I kind of got my start with security a little bit. I just kind of learned sector editing, and then eventually assembly for the 6502. And for a long time I was programming in BASIC and assembly, and that was what I had access to. I ended up going to MIT. It was actually my lifelong dream to do so. Little did I know that it was going to be the hardest thing that I'd ever done. It just seemed like a great place to go. When I was a kid, I had a little book on logo by Seymour Papert, which was very inspiring. I just thought it was really cool that MIT came up with this stuff, and I kind of got into logo and that kind of thing. Mostly because I couldn't afford a mouse and they did draw pictures, and I just had the trouble do it for me. It was pretty sad. But that we do make these progressive steps in our development. So I got a bachelor's degree in computer science. I think it was fortuitous at the time for me to be going to Boston, because I ended up running into a bunch of guys from Loft Heavy Industries at 2600 meeting, Prudential Center in 1985, I think. So it was the year following that I went to my first DEF CON, which was DEF 4, and picked a handle which somehow stuck. You can't change it once you pick it, so you just try to pick something that was not confrontational, not evil super killer or something that's too pompous. But yeah, so Del Dog stuck, and yeah, I got laughed out of Pound Hack on IRC a few times until I started publishing advisories. Ended up doing a lot of that, a lot of exploits. Ended up graduating from MIT in 1998. Got an opportunity because I wrote a search engine for my senior thesis thing, my senior project, and got an opportunity to meet with some guys from Stanford who were starting a company and doing a search engine, and I was just like, nah, that stuff's boring. I don't want to do that for work. You know, turned out it would have been like number 10 at Google or something, but no, it was not meant to be. So I inadvertently turned down, you know, any number of great opportunities just because I thought the work might be boring. Mostly wanted to follow my own path. I was really interested in my own ideas. Really wanted to, you know, build my own stuff. Didn't want to do other people's work. And that kind of independent thing ended up landing me in the position of having to leave a job that I had been at for 11 months. My mother thought I was crazy. You're leaving the bank to go work with a bunch of hairy hackers in a warehouse. Good. You better have enough rent money for like 6 months. And I'm like, yeah, I do. All right. So, school, getting a job. Worked at Loft Heavy Industries, was the first to go full-time there. Worked on loft crack, anti-sniff, a bunch of advisories there. Did this thing called Backwards 2000 here, a little while back, about 13 years ago, and wrote a couple advisories with them. Helped found AtStake, which is an interesting band of crazy people. I'd say it was the first company to publicly say that they hired hackers. My first the consulting company to say that they hired hackers. Everybody was kind of something you didn't do, and I remember us having to fight for the respect that we eventually ended up getting. Nobody wanted to give it to people that wore the hacker name back then. So I'd say with like 20 other people we founded AtStake. Everyone who's at AtStake will tell you they founded it, so just let them say that. I was acquired in 2004 by Symantec, and that was my first real moment where I started to see what the business world was like. This small thing, which was sort of a microcosm of the hacker world for me, was this AtStake, just got bought by a major corporation, and life changed. I mean, the first thing that you notice is that sodas now cost 25 cents. It's like, what? It was free before. The other thing is that if I remember us having in-depth bitching sessions about why Microsoft Outlook was the worst thing ever, and we're never going to use that damn thing. Well, once you got bought by Symantec, now you're stuck on Lotus Notes. Guess what? Don't bitch about Outlook, it does get worse. So, we ended up spinning out the core IP for Verica, my current company, in 2005, which is fortuitous and lucky because for the most part nobody understood anything about what it was or how it worked. It just looked like a language-oriented thing. Symantec said, well, we don't do C++ anymore, so you guys can take it. I'm like, okay. Turns out that it was something that I could get an investment on, and it was my first jump into trying to do this stuff by myself. I got a great co-founder, Christien, and a good team to start with, but taking the leap was not trivial. There was a probably 4-month period where I had no employment. We were all living off our severance pay, and then that ran out. Basically, when you're working for a company and then you choose to negotiate with that same company, they fire you first. It makes it a lot easier to negotiate with you when you have no money. So watch out for that. When you're spinning out, make sure that that technology is almost out the door already before you start negotiating. Otherwise, it's going to be a long haul, pulling and pulling and pulling, and you're going to end up calling in a lot of favors. And your venture capitalists are going to be like up all night trying to call the lawyers over there just to get them to pick up the phone, and it's one thing after another. So, getting IP out from underneath the larger posterior of a giant enterprise is non-trivial. I wouldn't do it if I could avoid it. So think twice about your IP agreements. At the same point, loose lips, six ships when it comes to ideas many times. It's the kind of thing where if I hadn't sold it to AtStake, I wouldn't be able to work on it. I probably wouldn't be where it was today. So I can't say I regret it. There's really no other path. There was nothing else I could really do. So, so we got funding. Now the chief scientist there, and an architect for our mobile offering. So I still do a lot of coding in my spare time here, which I didn't have. To start talking about the actual meat of this discussion, kind of have to take a look at how I progressed a little bit. That's kind of how I looked somewhat 15 years ago. I was a programmer. I would claim to be a programmer. I don't claim to be a hacker. My motivation was really just to get a job and to figure out what was going on in the world, to learn as much as I could about this industry because I thought it was neat. I thought I had maybe some skills in it, but I had nothing to really sell myself. No one would hire me necessarily without testing me excessively. After about 5 years in the industry, I had started publishing things. Publishing really made a big, huge difference. People started to recognize my name, my handle, and the work itself. But my motivation changed. What I considered success for me changed. And you're going to find that depending on where in the life cycle your employees are, for example, their definition of personal success is going to be different over time. Mine definitely was. I started to want to get in the media as much as I possibly could. And that could be because I joined Cultivated Cow around that time, and that was their stated goal of everything, was to get into the media as much as possible. But I really did believe that making myself more visible would somehow be good for my career. Turns out that it doesn't make you rich. It just makes you visible. Over time, I was thinking, what's going to make me happy? It starts to solidify after about like 10 years. And I came to the conclusion that my interest lied in doing impossible things. This could be good or it could be bad. We have some technology that I was writing for Rioux, and that was initially deemed impossible by the mathematics community and much other people. This whole idea of automatically reverse engineering a binary to a high-level model was generally deemed to be a lossy prospect and not worth writing code on. I suppose my ignorance at the time was an advantage because I didn't listen to anybody, and I just said, well, we're going to try it anyway. I hit all the same roadblocks that all of those other researchers hit in 2002 and 2003, and then I realized I had to start over. But I knew what I had done wrong, and there was a trick to it, and then nobody had seen it. At that point, I filed for the patent immediately. I absolutely hate patents. I think the whole process sucks. I would give up all of my patents if everybody else would, but sadly, the way it is, one has to have those kinds of things if you expect to get some kind of venture capitalist to pay attention to you. You gotta be able to show that you've got some IP. Otherwise, it's just your words. If your software works, nobody believes you anyway. Even if it works great, nobody believes you because for the most part they know what's coming, and you don't. They know what's coming because your software is going to be placed in an environment that is far beyond your own expectations. You've never seen the likes of something as terrible as, say, enterprise software. Right? I thought I could handle anything, and then I was fed like Adobe Reader, and then I was fed like giant programs that come from federated developments all over the world, and I was just like, okay, it's a good thing that I showed that I had some patents earlier on. And eventually those things did get approved, and I have that now. Today, my motivation really is to improve the state of the industry. Up at the, sort of top of error code, my goal is to make sure that what we do matters, that it has meaning, value. I have almost 300 employees now at Rioux. It's not small anymore. I remember when it was me and 2 other guys and whatever, it's 300 people, that's a lot of lives that you influence. I wouldn't want to be doing something meaningless. I wouldn't want to just be having another job. Those people matter a lot to me. So changing their lives, but also changing the world a little bit, if you can do it, find a way to just make sure that what you do has some kind of meaning to the world. Sometimes that's just about having the right timing. It's not about necessarily the idea itself sometimes, but making sure that you have the right thing at the right time. I think we were early. The idea that I was working on, I gave myself like 10 years. I was like, well, I know 3 or 4 of those were even before Rioux got started. So I think I've been writing the same code now for 15 years of my life or something like that. So it does take that kind of dedication sometimes. If you're really early, like I was, you're going to find that the market's not ready for you, and then you better damn well be ready to hang on for a very long time. So your fate is not sealed doing this. I chose to make certain choices along the way. Certain ones would have totally nuked the project and left me without any IP. Certain ones would have probably made it a little easier for me. But you're probably making completely different choices. And when it comes right down to it, it's about understanding people's motivations, your own as well as the people around you, and really getting to a sense of what success means for you. If you're going to be a hacker manager, if you're going to have a hacker company, you're going to have to try to find ways to make some of the most critical people in the world happy. Good luck with that. Getting a smile out of a security researcher is like ringing a light. So yeah, it's the skepticism. It gets to you eventually. But the same things that make a good security researcher sometimes don't make a great manager. You have to kind of switch gears. So, how do we build a better hacker manager? Let's take a look at the industry real quick. I'm just going to breeze through these slides. The timeline for the industry really started off with physical security, which kind of started since the beginning of recorded history. I'd say physical security is probably the second job ever, the second occupation. If you can guess what the first one is, you'd understand why the security is the second one, but anyway. The internet really showed up in the 60s to the 80s, just gestating basically, the privileged people had access to this kind of thing. Computer security got real around the time of the Mars worm, when the first kind of cyber attacks, whatever, I hate that term. Cyber used to be something that you did and did not talk about, and nowadays it's everywhere. It's just anyway, network security really took off in the 90s. Everybody now has a firewall. Hell, everyone, I work for an application security company, and everyone today still asks me, well, why do I need what you have if I have a firewall? I'm like, all right, those guys, they figured out how to sell this thing, because now everyone just assumes that it fixes everything. The other one that everyone assumes you absolutely need is a virus scanner. So they ask me, so how is your tool different than McAfee? I'm like, oh, jeez. We have an education problem in security, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that. So security architecture really kicked in around the death of AdStake, and we had all of these boutiques that just got built out of like the remnant ashes of AdStake people bleeding out of Symantec. So we had maybe 150 people, and each one of them went out and started a company somewhere so that they could get out. So you ended up with all these little security boutiques everywhere, and architecture became king for a while as a result. Big data, it's obviously big now. Application security is starting to pick up because people are getting good at all the other layers. And we're actually starting to make some incremental progress in securing things. I know it doesn't seem that way sometimes, and everything gets owned anyway, but there's a line. There's certain people that are not getting hacked nearly as much as they might deserve, but they've done the work. I'd say that raising the bar, and we use that as a strongman generic term for what we do, but it is what the security industry is about. You're never going to be 100% secure, so we always are talking about different ways of raising the bar. These companies, as I mentioned, the security companies that you're going to run into are these consultancies, manual services, tech-assisted manual services, pen testing, architecture reviews, things that generally require a human being. Product sales, so we're talking the virus scanners of the world, the things that you install on your servers. Enterprises that have security departments and and QA and IT and secure responsibilities across the organization. And software as a service type companies that are offering services through automation. So you're going to end up running into this range of companies. Each one probably defines success a little differently. Personal success is a little bit hard to get at, but we're going to try. Business success is pretty obvious. It's pretty clear what makes a successful business sometimes. And it's going to be money. Shareholder value, we love that term. Things like market leadership, being able to measure your stability and predictability. So yeah, what do these have all in common? It's measurement. You can't improve what you can't measure. So having a business that is measurable is one that can be made successful. And then we'll have the people interpreting it as a successful business. That's all I know about finance. But if it looks like that, it's good. That's what people want to see. If you can make it hockey stick too, I hate that term, but I'm even from New England, whatever. Yeah, if it's up and to the right, you're good, right? Okay, good. And now that you know, you just want to make sure that shit keeps popping up all the time. Exit strategy. One thing you could do in your business is run out of money. It's likely that this will happen. Most companies don't make it, and they find a way out, usually at the very, very last minute, to find a way to take care of the employees in a time of need. But for the most part, angry VCs, sad founders, fire sale of everything, and then you start applying for dumb jobs so that you can pay your bills. Not the way you want to end up. Your build quick exit strategy, the California model here is that you're trying to take in as little investment as possible, sell early if you can, so that you don't basically build too much burn over time. And then you really need to know people. I wouldn't start doing the build quick strategy unless you knew who was going to buy you already. You basically need to have that. It's like, I launched the company. Okay, who's going to buy us? It's going to take you a year to get that done. But 2 years in, you better be signing paperwork if this is your plan. So little to no investment usually means seed round, and then you're immediately using very lightweight technologies to distribute what you do. A long haul company, which apparently is what I've done, is a long-term multiple round investment from various players out there, various VCs, and it's really about building a market. Many times you are bringing something new to the table that nobody's ever seen before. This is just part of how things are. And if you were kind of doing the same thing as other people, then you're already entering a competing market. Unless you have something really magical about the way you're doing it, it's probably not worth your time, and you probably won't even get the investment. So, you really need to be doing something new and interesting, and as a result, your goal eventually is going to be to get bought or to go public. And honestly, you want to be going public no matter what. You don't want to be the company that says, we don't have the financials to go public, so let's get bought. That ends you up in a negotiation where absolutely everybody's got 3 years of golden handcuffs, and your stock doesn't buy as many options, or your options don't buy as much stock in the acquiring company, and you end up with a much more dismal acquisition unless you're willing to be able to and capable of saying no to an acquirer. You can say, I'm just going to go public instead, sorry, your deal sucks. You're going to do a better job. You'll be able to say no. They know that. They won't make the bad offer, and you'll get the good offer. That's the trick. So never ever, even if you don't plan on going public, always say you're going public. That's the rule. Just say it. Never waver from it, and have the financials to back up that that's an option. So even if you do intend to get bought 100%, make sure that you have a CFO that gets how to, you gotta be serious. You gotta have a CFO that understands, how to do a public company and has done it before. Then they'll believe you. So, lifestyle company. Too many of these out there, but usually this is what happens when You have sort of one person who owns almost all the stock in the company, and all they want to do is hire people to get the work done around them, and they don't intend to sell, they don't intend to go public, and they're just going to take forever, and eventually they're going to pass it on nepotistically to their kids or something. You know, it's not, there's no exit strategy at this point. It's not exit, it's about, it's my company, and I will have it for the rest of my life. The dynamics are very different there. So, personal success factors. Yeah, right? So we're just talking about the fail competition there. You know, what people consider success. What motivates you matters. Are you altruistic? Are you doing it because you think you're doing a good thing for the world? Are you doing it for money, fame? Are you just bored? I know I was at the beginning, and security was, and hacking was very motivating. First time I got a taste of actually busting something and writing an exploit for it, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this a lot. You know, well, the question is, you know, what makes you feel good? You know, what makes you happy? So, do you like your job? Would you want to start a company? Would you prefer to do your own thing, or do you like to be a good follower? I mean, there's great leaders and there's great followers. Great followers take good ideas that they believe in and make them possible. It takes a careful blend of both of those types of personalities to make something really work. So know which one you are. You know, if you don't want to lead, don't lead, but be a great follower instead of being a great leader. It's fine. It's important that you make that distinction though and know which one is which. You know, you're going to see the leaders out there, and it's going to be pretty natural for them. If it's not natural for you, maybe being a great follower is what you should be studying up on. There's actually a formal psychological term called followership that one can read up on if anyone cares. So yeah, getting famous sounds like a good idea. Once you're famous, it's really hard to turn that into money. It's just, you know, the long arm of marketing, personal branding. I would be surprised if my kids didn't, by the time they were 5 years old, already have their own personal brand. It's what is happening around you in mass. Everybody is going to be, you know, themselves plus whatever products that they've produced and you know, things they've written. It seems like everybody online has a brand now. So understanding that is sort of key to understanding fame. What do you do when everybody's famous thanks to Facebook? Everybody knows what everyone else does now. So yeah, so what do you do once you get some money? How do you use that to make yourself happy? You don't want to act like a person with money. That's like the #1 way to lose friends, lose influence, lose prospects, and you know, think that your ideas are way better than they are because you're not taking the criticism from the people around you that are rich. So you need to be asking for feedback a lot when we get to that. So what is good enough? Success is different for everybody, but we tend to agree that money is not happiness. We tend to think that happiness is a requirement to build wealth. I think that the fortitude required to grow your career requires that you love what you're doing. I wouldn't be able to do 15 years for the sake of COVID, but I didn't absolutely think it was awesome. So, yeah, so what is good enough? Is there a perfect job or a perfect project? You know, does it have to be you? Would you love to work on somebody else's stuff? Get those answers for yourself. School, if you're gonna do it, you gotta get a job. School helps. If you hack all the time, you're going to get bad grades like I did. And then graduate though. And even though I got bad grades, I was actually told by my advisor in my junior year at MIT that I had no future in computer science and that I should stop doing it and I should pick a different major. I'm glad that I loved it enough and I knew that she was full of it. She went on sabbatical, and that semester when I went into my current affairs and computer sciences class, sort of an elective class around what was going on in the world. It turned out that the coursework was my exploits for Internet Explorer. So I started feeling real good about graduating and sticking with computer science at that point because they had no idea that I was sitting in the room. And they told me that, you know, I had no future, and I'm like, okay, well, you're teaching my stuff right back to me. At least this year is going to be a really easy year. Yeah, chances are you're not Bill Gates, though. Chances are you're not Steve Jobs. You're not going to drop out of school and then suddenly everyone's going to respect you for your genius. It's just not rare occurrence. So try to get that graduate, you know. Hacker companies. I'm glad to say that I've helped to start one. I'm glad that I love to hire hackers. I love to hire people that are creative. Everyone at Veracode sort of passes this bar of being an extremely creative person. You know, we really, pull from the industry, and we try to get people and give them a career path and help them grow. One thing that shows up a lot, though, is skepticism. And it is part of being a security researcher. You have to think that everything is broken, and you have to show everyone how that thing's broken. When it comes to other people, however, and teams and groups, we don't always need to find fault in each other. It's easy to do. It's hard to turn off that skepticism when it's appropriate. So healthy skepticism is things like, prove to me that you've done some work securing that machine before you put it out on the internet. That's a perfectly good thing that we should be doing. Unhealthy. Everyone has faults. It's only a matter of time before I discover yours and exploit it, leaving you to powerless pariah to your occupation. So the idea of pulling apart your coworkers is not a friendly thing to do, and will not earn you points from anybody. But it's typical and pretty common. So watch out for that. Paranoia, also good. We should secure. Do full security reviews of the software for the quarterly release and automated reviews for every minor release and all that kind of thing. Paranoia, the expectation that you're going to get hacked, is part of our nature. The unhealthy side of this is things like, I think the sales and marketing team have it out for the engineering team. They might. But you'll find that the paranoia doesn't help in bridging the gap there and bringing people closer together. You have to go out of your way. It's not comfortable for either side of the house there to come together. But get those social events going. Do things. We have a friendly drinking night type thing at Veracode. We do a lot of games. We have poker nights and all that kind of stuff. So people actually that might not normally hang out, get to know each other, they get the opportunity to do that. So maker ethics. We should conduct full security reviews of the software each quarter release. Oh, that's actually a mistake from the old slide. Anyway, okay, so we're going to skip that one. But the notion of having maker ethics in your company is really good, because the desire to create things and tear them apart and understand how things work is all two sides of the same coin. I think the growth of the maker industry has really been a boon for the security industry. It's almost like the more people that make things, the more valuable our work becomes. So keeping that perspective is important. Encouraging hacker culture. There are things you can do in your company to encourage hacker-like behavior, creative behavior. You give people free time. Give them the Google time that they want, the 20% one day a week to do whatever they want. Many times you're going to find that they do things that benefit the company because they love what they're doing. We at Rioux do hackathons, which are basically 3-day plus a weekend hacking runs of just do whatever the heck you want. And sometimes people work on work ideas, sometimes they learn new things that they've never learned, like a sales guy comes up and learns how to solder, put some monkey lights together, that kind of thing. And it gives people respect for the amount of creativity that is in the company. You showcase that. A little science fair never hurt anybody. We do security awareness trainings, so people that might just take security for granted at least understand the scope of the problem. It might not be all that fun to sit through an awareness training. It sounds like an HR weasel word, but it really, when it's run by the research team and everybody has to sit there and kind of get used to the idea that security is not going away anytime soon, that's the kind of thing that at least increases respect when people say, when they get the big fat no, you can't put that on the external website or whatever. They at least understand that there's a process, and the process is there for their own good. It's becoming less and less of an issue since grandma's getting hacked these days. Everybody gets hacked. Everyone knows what identity theft is. Like 10 years ago, nobody knew. Grandmother didn't know what identity theft was. It wasn't an issue. These days it is. So I get less pushback. Role progression. Everybody expects that their job is going to make them, give them some progress over time. You know, you can start off as a researcher and hopefully get senior researcher, and then maybe principal architect, and then maybe you can work with management or whatever. Whatever that progress is, you actually have to be a little wary of it. Knowing what makes you happy may not be getting a raise or a promotion. Because how many times when those things happen, they come with responsibilities and those things change. If you like writing code, maybe you don't want to be a development manager. You might find that you're doing project management all day and spending every single waking hour of your time in Jira and clicking on people's story points and asking them why it's taking them so long to get the work done. And oh my God, this is never going to get done on time, and all that shit. So, you know, instead of actually sitting there and making the thing happen, you're helping to herd cats. And if you like doing that, then fine. But you might not want to take the promotion unless you're absolutely certain. So know where the company makes you happy too. You know, many people are individual contributors. You're going to find that you end up as a project lead if you do your job well. You're just given the responsibilities of leading a project. It's going to feel good. You'll want to do that. But then, you know, you realize the next step is middle management. And you're like, all right, interesting. All right, the executive management starts to get even a little more remote. And of course, you get the big, long view of the company, and it kind of gives you some sense of, you know, when people invest, what they're really worried about. I mean, you taking how much of their money? That's a lot of money. Other people's money is not something you really want to have. The responsibilities to those people is huge. You know, you take in $40 million or something, boy, you have $40 million of debt, and you better be making those people happy. You know, so yeah, it doesn't come for free. So going up and kind of ending up as founders or CEOs or board members of companies, you end up with a lot of this, you're right up against the money, right up against the investment, and you have to be able to make commitments that you believe in, and it's about your word at that point. You know, they're going to invest in you because they believe in your ideas, and they believe in the people that you've assembled. So, beware the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle says that people will always get promoted to their level of incompetence. If you're really good at something, they'll give you a promotion until you're no longer good at that thing, and now you're stuck doing a job that you're not good at. You really need to vet that promotion. Make sure that the work you're going to be doing is something that you really want to learn, and that you really want to get into. Otherwise, Peter Principle. So I have a lot of people that I started a company with that don't want to progress past middle management. They just don't want to do it. And I totally understand. They want to have their fingers in that, at the individual contributor level as well. It's important that they continue to write code and things like that to make themselves happy. So they don't want to do all of that other stuff. So I totally get that. So I'm going to actually sum this up and wrap up this topic here with basically 10 things that I think are absolutely fundamental to hacker management, dealing with creative people, and running hacker companies. All right, so number 1, thou shalt appear presentable, approachable, and kind. It is non-obvious at first that looks matter, but as you are hiring, I have seen some absolute horror shows when it comes to people scaring clients, people scaring their managers, people scaring people because they're dressed in a very scary way. Okay. Black all day is good, that's fine. You can wear whatever you want at the office if very good, but for the most part, hygiene matters. Smelling good, having a meeting with somebody. It's good to actually avoid the troll under the bridge look. So if you don't want to be treated like an outsider, if you want to make contacts and whatnot, at least soften it. Just soften the look. Hard is good, I like hard, but there's a time and a place for it. Rule number 2. Thou shalt be a good team leader and a good individual contributor. You have to be both. You cannot just become a manager and then lead your team. I've seen so many managers that are just looking to get idolized by people that work for them. They become the friend and not the manager. And at a certain point, you have to realize that those people are not contributing anything. They're just kind of summing up the work of everyone beneath them and passing it on. It's It's like, why are you here? What are you doing? What are you adding value? You actually have to add your own value still. Because really, in an org chart, you think about it, you have people that work for you, but you're also on a team of people at your level. If you're not contributing in an individual capacity to that team, forget managing. And you've lost what got you there. So don't do that. Rule number 3, thou shalt prioritize the team that you're on rather than the team you lead. It's even a little deeper. Really, the team you're on is the one that needs to be successful. The executive function at the top of the company is the thing that needs to be successful. Otherwise, you are walking blind. You are making bad decisions all over the place. All of those things that you hold dear at the individual contributor level, they're going to go away because people don't understand the value anymore. So making each team successful from the top down is really important. It sounds like it's self-serving, because I haven't at that executive level, but honestly, if they're flying blind and they're not doing a good job because people on the team around them are dysfunctional, then everything beneath them is going to be terrible too. Effectively, you should be able to, at any time, delegate to your best of your direct reports. If you're doing a good job, there's somebody beneath that you're managing that you should be able to delegate to, so that you can continue to be an individual contributor when necessary. Rule number 4. Thou shalt be inclusive of many skill sets and expertise in an organization. I would not want to run a completely homogeneous computer network. I don't know why anyone would want to run a completely homogeneous company. The same reasons. You don't want to amplify the things that are weaknesses in your organization. You want to have a little bit of everything if you can. Try to be as broad as you can in your hiring, understanding full well that not everyone's going to understand everybody. Takes all kinds of people. Surrounding yourself with really smart people sounds like a great idea, but it's also important to understand that boring work will never get done if you only hire smart people. It's just how it goes. You're going to find that there's a cluster of work that absolutely nobody in their right mind would want to do. So you need at least a few people that aren't in the right mind to do that work. Make sure you get them. Don't snicker at it, because it's so important that shit gets done, but you're not going to be able to get the extremely creative sometimes to do the extremely mundane. Those still need to get done. So rule number 5, thou shalt embrace time and project management techniques. Yeah, sure, all right, here we go. So every project that looks like it's going to be longer than 2 weeks worth of work, you better be breaking that stuff down into like day-long tasks. Basically, everyone takes as much time as possible to get a task done. If you give people 6 months, it'll take them 6 months to do it. If you give people a month to do something, it'll take them a month to do it. You might get different things, but you might actually get exactly the same thing, except that people took 6 months. So understanding what work really needs to be done is really important. Don't just take time estimates and face value. Everyone that's an engineer is absolutely terrible at time management. It's just how it is. We all take an infinite amount of time to do everything. It's kind of, work is never done, and that's actually kind of a big deal too. So thou shalt not depend on rock stars and hero gooders. It's great to have smart people. It's great to have people that take on responsibility. They don't scale. As a project gets bigger, that one guy that knows how everything works, it's either going to be, you're either going to become a slave to that one person, or they will die and get hit by a bus or something, and now you have a company. You have like a whole quarter of trying to make up for that loss. All right, I suppose that's a little insensitive. Moving on. Somebody dies in the quarter anyway. Okay, so you're not invincible. That's the point. Just because you have really good programmers or whatever doesn't mean you're going to succeed. So making sure that you empower everybody and that you make the software maintainable if you're writing software, for example. Rule number 7, thou shalt embrace process. All of the stuff that goes along with that project management is there for a reason. So learn your Agile, learn your Scrum, learn your Kanban, and get religion around it. The idea of providing people a way to measure their progress. Measuring is key to improvement. Being able to show that estimates are wrong and that things are taking less or more time it is really, really important. There's nothing worse than telling a major enterprise that the product's going to be ready and then having it ready a month after. They want to start using it immediately. So when you make a promise about a date, you better have all the stuff and the numbers to back it up. Hire somebody to do this if you don't want to do it yourself, but do it. In terms of your departments, nobody should ever feel that they don't know what to do in a situation. There should always be an outlet for asking questions. There should always be a single point of entry. I come back from a conference and I've got a fistful of business cards. I shouldn't be like, well, I'm just going to throw these in the garbage. Somebody in marketing wants those things. You might not know who. Once a company gets to a certain size, it's like, well, I don't even know who wants this, right? There should be a place. You should be able to ask. You should be able to find out and then, deliver those things. Every little thing like that to smooth out the process of scale is really important. Okay, rule number 8, thou shalt not require perfection, for it is the mortal enemy of good enough. Everybody wants their code to be done. It's never going to be done, ever. So again, why we have an industry, right? So yeah, it's important to note that the attitude of winning or catching the bad guy is actually totally fatal. I stopped going to a lot of these government cyber industry working groups because they were spending all of their time kind of talking about the last time they got hacked, like some kind of weird cyber AA meeting. And then after that, just rat holing on the concept of catching the bad guy who did it to them, as if that wasn't just going to prevent somehow the next bad guy. I mean, while they're talking about it, somebody else hacking again, right? So recognizing good enough when you see it is a skill that should be near and dear to the heart of security researchers. There is good enough, and there is overkill, a waste of time, a waste of money. Rule number 9, thou shalt trust but verify. It's important that you give people a chance to do the right thing in your organization. As a manager, there's a temptation, when you're especially in a technical manager position, to micromanage the crap out of everyone beneath you, asking for constant updates, asking for a lot of meeting time. There's the meetings that are designed to be problem solving, and then there are meetings that are designed to be information sharing. But really, if you think about it, meetings should be either 20 minutes or 2 hours, and that's it. Period. If you're not doing it that way, think about it. So yeah, reduce the number of meetings. Try to do that. But trust people to do their job. When you give them something to do, trust that they're going to do it, and let them fail. If they fail, let them fail. Even then, minimize the impact of failure, of course, but let people do their job. You're going to find that delegation doesn't work unless you do. And the last one here is rule number 10. Thou shalt give feedback well and take feedback even better. Ask for feedback. Be a big enough individual to ask your direct reports and people around you to give you constructive criticism. It may hurt, even if it's constructive, but those people need to give that feedback to you, and you need to ask for it. They won't do it unless you ask. So ask for feedback. And don't put together a company-wide survey and then just expect that all of the right information will somehow be derived from this. It's a personal thing. One-on-one's really important in that way. Once a quarter, ask for feedback on how you're doing. It's really important, and it'll make you a better hacker manager. So I think that's it for now. If you ever have any questions about my experiences or what I think you can do to do a better job, come talk to me, find me at the bar around here, or shoot me an email. I'm really easy to find at Rioux, so I'm willing to talk to just about anybody. So thank you guys for your time.